Evening, guys. I hope you're all well. Welcome to Sniper Sundays. Hope you're all having a great Easter Sunday. Having a good Easter wherever you are or whatever you're doing. Obviously, under circumstances of the coronavirus, a little bit different this year for most of us. But yeah, I hope you're having a good time whatever you're doing. Now, just a quick thing that I want to touch on is obviously Friday was a very quiet day in the market, which we could basically foresaw because it was not technically classified as a bank holiday everywhere in the world, but it is more or less a day that a lot of people take off. And then on Monday, it's going to be a bank holiday. But let's quickly go to the calendar, the economic calendar. You can see here pretty much all around the world it's a May bank holiday. Sorry, not May bank holiday, Easter bank holiday. And yeah, it's bound to be a quiet day tomorrow in the market. So I do expect that there may be some movement in the market on market open, which I'm going to explain in a minute why. On oil, oil is one of the main ones. But apart from that, unless there's much movement on market open, I expect it to be a relatively quiet day on Monday. So you have to kind of understand, this is one of the things that I speak about in the sessions webinar, this webinar about different sessions, which should be posted and live for you guys tomorrow, is taking into consideration about just understanding the market and when people trade and when they don't trade. It's very straightforward if you just think about it in simple terms. If you just think about, for instance, if you're in the UK, what time you wake up, what time you start trading, what time you decide that you stop trading, local business hours, 8 till 5. And the market, basically, you just have to use your brain, to say it quite bluntly, and just think of how the market works. So if you think Easter is sort of the main holiday since Christmas, and it's sort of usually for most people a 4-day weekend. It's the only 4-day weekend I think there is in the calendar year, which is where people take the Friday off, they take the Monday off, and a lot of people even take the whole week off. Most schools and stuff are off from in normal times, not coronavirus period, but most normal times, most schools are off for I think about 2 weeks. So you can understand that that weekend of the long weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, the markets are going to be quiet because people aren't trading. So just as when people go home from work, the market gets quiet because in between sessions and so on, you just have to, as I said, use your brain and just understand, okay, well, today's a public holiday. There's not going to be volatility in the market. So it's just stupid to actually look and start trying to trade in between those times. Yes, there might be 5, 10, 20 pips here or there, but then who's bothered about that type of trading? So then on Monday is probably going to be the same situation as well. So more or less, you just need to be able to not be addicted to the charts and be able to just stay away and say, okay, you know what, I'm not going to take a trade. I'm not going to go looking for a trade because I know there's not going to be anything there. I could get stuck in a trade. The spreads could be slightly wider, perhaps on the pairs. So you could have a 5 pip spread, 10 pip spread, which means that you're into a loss straight away and it's hard to recover. And if you've got a 5, 10 pip spread and the market's only moving about 10, 20 pips, you're going to be stuck in a position and then probably go into a loss and be holding that position. So it's just stupid. Stay away from it. Wait for the market and the volatility to return. So looking at that, as I said, we've got a bank holiday on Monday, but let's go back to today on Sunday. We got OPEC meeting, and you can just see here OPEC reaches deal to cut oil production. OPEC Plus calls for urgent Sunday meeting. So there's been a meeting today. It says here that there's a deal to cut oil production. So we have to see how the market will open when that comes out. So oil, there could be a move on oil, which means there could be a move on CAD, Canadian dollar. So we'll have to see how that what happens there on market open. But apart from that, I shouldn't expect to see too much else changing on market open. But as you know, current market conditions, we never know, and we will have to see. So today's Sniper Sunday is basically going over quite a bit of what we went over on Thursday. So not too much, not too heavy, just a bit light and just kind of breezing through some of these because we have sort of gone through it on Thursday and nothing's really changed. So I am still excited for the week ahead. I'm still seeing a lot of trades for us. as I mentioned last week, is sort of the calm before the storm for us. So I expected to be taking a lots more trades this week. So once we get Monday out of the way, hopefully then the volatility comes straight back in and we can get stuck in straight away. So we'll just start off with the dollar index as we know. Actually, let me just finish off the. Sorry, guys. Let me just finish off the fundamentals. So we got Monday. We know we got a bank holiday. Tuesday we've got some news, not too much coming in. Some China news, trade balance. Then Wednesday we've got retail sales from America, Canadian dollar news, monetary policy report, the Bank of Canada rate statement, and then we got the Bank of Canada press conference as well. So that's Wednesday afternoon in the UK. Unemployment rate and unemployment change, Aussie dollar. This is going to be interesting for us on Thursday morning, UK time, 2:30 a.m. And then we got US dollar unemployment claims as well coming through. And then we've got China GDP as well. So that's the sort of main high impact news for the week. So not an awful lot. But yeah, the probably standout news is probably going to be the Canadian dollar on Wednesday afternoon. And then Thursday morning, the unemployment for the Aussie dollar, especially for us because we're going to be focusing on Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar pairs this week. So we'll just start off with the US dollar. It's not really been giving us too much. I said it a little bit repetitive as to what I was saying on last Thursday, but my bias hasn't changed. Friday was an absolute nothing day, so the market just moved sideways. But saying that, because it moved sideways, we need to let the market show us a little bit more on Monday, stroke Tuesday morning, depending on with this volatility. We need to just let it show us a little bit more, which I'll explain to you in a minute. But where it's just gone flat, it's hard to decipher what the first move is going to be. So if the market literally just moved sideways between 5, 10, 20 pips, obviously that once the volatility comes back in, there may be a false move first, which I'll explain shortly. So US dollar, as we can see here, sort of it's not really given any clear indication, let's be honest. Let's look at it on the weekly. We've got a bit of, which is making the market quite tricky coming into this week, because obviously the US dollar is the main currency. So we had this tweezer top formation at the top here on the weekly, big bearish candle, pull back up 50%. We started to push down last week, but couldn't manage to continue that push down. On a daily, at the moment, it looks like we did have that 50% retracement, as you can see here, 50% retracement. But there's also the argument, if you just look at it the opposite way, that we could possibly just been having a 50% retracement on a bullish fib. So we're sort of like in between this big moves that have been happening in the last couple of weeks. We had a big move up, big move down. Well, we had a big move down first, then a big move back up, and a big move back down. And it's sort of just undecisive of where it really wants to go next. So we can see here, we had this sort of little, this 4-hour bullish trend here. Looked like we could push up higher, maybe push up into this region before rolling over to the downside. However, we broke through this counter trend line, which means that short term it's turned bearish. We're making low lows and lower highs, as you can see now. I'll just remove this. We're making low lows, lower highs, lower lows. And we're looking for this for short term is to maybe slightly extend this low into this support region here. As you know, on this 4-hour chart, we've got higher high, higher low, higher high up here. And we're coming back down, could possibly make an equal high low or a new high low around this region before pushing back up to the upside. Should we break this level, then it's all systems go for US dollar sell-off once again to come back down lower. I think we'll come back down and then we can continue down lower. However, I think there's a few twists in the tail before that. So we're watching out around this level. Now, if I just flip over to Euro USD and just remove this fib, this sort of just shows, we know that the US dollar plays heavily on Euro USD, and this just kind of shows you why it's hard to read. Because you can see here we've got this sort of 4-hour triangle formation, large triangle formation forming. Now, with a triangle formation like this on the most traded currency pair in the Forex market, I'm expecting quite a bit of manipulation around these regions before actually taking the right direction. So we can see here Friday we just moved sideways. We're looking at possibly a fake out to the upside here. Higher high, higher low, higher high. Not really much of a higher high above the previous higher high. Nevertheless, it is a higher high. So we'll just zoom in here. And what we can see is we could be pulling back down to maybe come back into these regions. Now, what I am looking for is that Euro USD to go up higher long term, as I explained to you guys, which would mean US dollar weakness. But as I said, short term, we may get that US dollar bullishness first up into these regions before we have that sell off. So what we're looking for is Euro USD. So we might have that short term US dollar strength, which would bring the Euro USD back down into sort of these regions. Come back down, what people have been in the group for quite some time now will know that we see these fake outs all the time, fake out to the upside, which means that we can more than likely see this pair come back down and have a fake out to the downside. As I said, you saw at the start, there's a bit of a Fibonacci on this, a possible Fibonacci. But what we can just see here, I'll put it on in a second, is just like the US dollar, we're sort of in a mixed bag here at the moment. It's really hard to call where the next move is going to be. Overall, I think we're going to see upside, but it's just short term. It's hard to call right now because one, we're in a triangle formation, so we know that it can go either way right now. Two, Friday ended as an absolutely dead day, just moved sideways. Three, we're off the back of a 4-day weekend, so all the news over the weekend, market can go one way to begin with, and then another way, and then move in the right direction. So we need to be really careful on Monday and not be too eager, and don't jump straight into the market and get yourself burnt straight away. So just stand aside and just let this market do its thing a little bit. As you can see here, even from this move, we're currently, what I saw on here is currently we've had a move from significant low to significant high. If this could hold here and pull back down, we could come back down to the 61, we could come back down to the 78%. Both would be valid with a fake out of the lower end of this triangle formation, which also would be 0.3. So we've got 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 of the trend line, in line with 61.8%, in line with 78.6%, in this sort of golden area in order to look for support. And we came down here and found support in this region, then we can see this take off. And you can see how the Fibonacci extension lines up perfectly with the resistance and that round significant level of 1.100. So that is one setup that is possible. So I do believe that we're going to see a pullback, but it's just how low we're going to pull back, because we do have this area of support, as you can see here, just spiking into this level. But we could easily spike back into this level and create an equal higher low. So we go have a higher high, a higher low, a higher high, and an equal higher low here. Come back, test this area of support, and that could be what we need to have the catalyst for this to take off and move to the upside, and then we can have that long-term Euro USD trade to the upside. So that's what I'm going to be watching out for. But as I said, wait for market to open and just see what's going to happen around this level. Will not be surprised when we open up a little bit higher, maybe spike into 1.100, bring in some early long buyers, and then come back down and then go back up to the upside. So expect some manipulation from around this region, especially after a 4-day weekend. We may see a lot of false flags, false movement around these areas. But making high, low. As I said, this high isn't too high above the previous high, sorry. So we can extend this slightly higher up into this region, finish off this move a little bit higher, and then we could see a pullback down into these regions once again. Just reading price action, you can see here, price action moves in waves, high, low, high, low, and then high. But we haven't really created a significant high just yet. Euro GBP, very interesting for next week. So I've been watching this one for for a few weeks now as we monitor this for a potential trade setup. And what we can see here is that we've come back down to sort of the previous lows created last week or the week before. Watching this very carefully. But what I do believe is that there's another push to the downside just yet on Euro GBP. And you're probably asking why. So reasons why is what we often see is what we have in front of us. When price comes down to make a bottom, we make a bottom. So we hit price and we move away. But as I said, 80-90% of the time, we don't just move away, like I always say. We don't just hit price action, and we don't just hit a bottom and then fly away and never see that price again. We always normally retest that at least once or twice. So here we've had a little move away. That's why we don't jump in or don't panic. Yes, it looked like the price is moving, but we don't want to get involved. We looked at buying here and we got out just before the news broke out. but even that was too soon for this pair at the moment after such a bearish push from the highs all the way down to the lows here. So then, what, as I said, why do I think another push to the downside? Well, I knew that I was expecting a push back down to these regions because I was expecting to have that second test of this level of support. Now, what do we see? As I said on Thursday, what do we see 90% of the time before we have either a retracement or a turnaround in the market? We see us price take out the previous low. However, this happened and then the market went quiet. So at the moment, I still think now that price can easily come down and fulfill this wick, closing this price before it comes in. This is going to bring in lots of early buyers. This is the second test of this support. So we had test 1, test 2. But remember, we do have this weekly support level 0.8700 sitting just below us. So what I do believe is that we can come down lower and take out this wick, maybe come slightly lower, and then we're going to have that reversal to the upside. So this is the prime sort of buy area that we're going to be looking out for Euro GBP. I don't think we're going to move up just yet. If we move up from here, that's fine. Then we can let it move up. We monitor it. We can look for a pullback, and then we can look for a push back up to the upside. But for now, I'm looking for price to push back down into sort of this region and come back down to 0.870, 8720 to 0.8700, sort of that region, or 0.8730, let's say, to 0.8700. This region is going to be the region where we're going to be looking for this to then push back up to the upside. Euro AUD, similar situation. So we've been watching this. If I just go back to the 4-hour chart, we've been watching Euro AUD, very, very bearish. Pity on this, we were looking at a bearish setup from this way, from the top, but with that coronavirus situation, when this price moved 2,000 pips in a day, it gave us no possible entry to get in. Now we've been pushing down and we're expecting a pullback up to the upside. However, we haven't had the sort of swing pullback up that I've been expecting just yet. However, I do believe that is now coming as Aussie dollar pairs have broken to the upside. They're coming to an area where they're going to need to have a pullback, even if it's to push up higher. But all Aussie dollar pairs, New Zealand dollar pairs are looking to have a pullback this week. So here, what can we see in front of us? First, we have our levels, monthly key levels of support and resistance. Then we add on our directional levels with the trend line, and we always know there's 3 main trend lines. There's there's the long term, the outer, and the inner. This is the long term, so we can get rid of that for the moment. Well, actually, I'll leave that on. Then we drop down to the 1 hour, and we got the outer and we got the inner. Now you can see here we're barely breaking out of the inner trend line, and so this is the inner trend line is the weakest, but we're barely being able to break out of this at the moment. We have come down, we made a low. You can see here that we've actually come out and taken out that low once more, but again, I still don't believe that this move is finished over just yet. What we can see is this weak breakout here, unable to break back above weekly resistance of 1.7250. Then this can easily just roll over to the downside. Without being able to break that level and being able to continue this push up higher, it means that this is weak. So now the euro, as I said, expecting a push down in euro pairs. Again, I believe that we're going to push down lower on this pair, take out this previous low, maybe come down to 1.7150. I think I might have even mentioned that figure last week. Come back down a little bit lower, and then from down into these regions, we may see a push back up, maybe even a little bit higher. But yeah, I think we'll take out that low, come back down a little bit lower, and then this is the prime area where we'll be looking for this to, again, turn around, and we'll have that push back up to the upside. So one more push down is sort of what I'm looking for, and then we're going to be looking for a push back up. But again, as always, we have to see how market opens after the long weekend and see what happens. If we do see a push up, that's fine, that's great. It doesn't mean we missed the trade. It's just showing us more signs that what we're thinking is correct. So what I'd love to even see is a nice bullish candle back above here. Then we can wait for that pullback, and then we can look for that trade. But again, we're looking for Euro AUD longs this week, and we're looking for a pullback from these sort of levels. Now, another thing that I just have noticed, and what I wanted to mark out, as you can see here over to the left, that we do have on the 4 hour, that we've got this sort of region of price action where we've got a bit of a gap in the market. Gap did get filled. It must have over the weekend opened up higher. Crazy price action, spiked up. If you remember that first initial spike, that was a couple of months ago, a month or so ago. Then we came back down, filled the area, but this area we may just see price come back down and dip into that level once again, just to sort of fulfill this gap in the market and before making a reversal back up to the upside. So that's a key area to watch out for. Again, that's very similar to Euro NZD. If you can just see here, we'll go to the daily chart on Euro NZD. Just get rid of this for the moment. You know, Euro AUD and Euro NZD move very, very similar, hand in hand with each other. Now, see, this is what you call a bearish candle. This is a beautiful candle. This daily candle here. This is one of the most bearish candles you can get. Shooting star. If you see this at the top of a trend, like up here, you want to be selling afterwards. But recently, the market, the price action has been completely off. Where we've seen this on a 4-hour chart, and the next 4-hour candle is a bullish engulfing. But this candle is very, very, very bearish. This is a daily candle as well. The next strongest up from a 4-hour. Sort of shooting star personality with a big wick at the top, big bearish candle, and no wick at the bottom. So you would expect this to roll over the next day. Now, next day we have had a sort of doji candle. That's why we didn't get involved on Friday. You can see the previous day is very, very bearish. We are looking for a turnaround from this area. But again, just like I mentioned, Euro NZD, see the sort of gap in the market that we've got here? We did have that big gap. We dipped back into it. Quickly, but I'm expecting maybe a bit of accumulation price action here before reversing back up to the upside. So drop down to the 4-hour. We can see we're just dancing along on top of that area of support at the moment. Can't break above 1.800, but again, this is going to be the key level that we're going to be watching out for coming into next week. So we're looking for Euro AUD longs, Euro NZD longs as well, Euro GBP. So basically, we're looking for longs on these pairs, but we're looking for one more push to the downside on the Euro first. Unless the market opens and we see a jump up higher, where we'll have to reevaluate and wait for the pullback. But in general, we're looking for Euro. We're looking for Euro weakness at the start of the week, and then we're looking for long trades. So that's Euro USD, Euro GBP, Euro AUD, Euro NZD, Euro JPY. Looking at this over the weekend, this is a very, very messy sort of pair at the moment, and there's no real reading on it. It's not given any clear direction. We've had a big bullish push, big bearish push. Now we're pushing back up, got into the sort of midway point of this previous bearish run to the downside. Higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher equal higher high. Just been moving sideways. Look at these are 4-hour candles. It's done absolutely nothing for about 2 days. What I would be I'm not interested in this just yet. What I would be interested in though is if we come up, take out this previous higher high to the upside, fail to break, and then we may see a nice area to look at taking a possible short trade down from here. But right now, there's nothing in it for us just yet. We've got a clear area where we've got resistance and support, this being the previous higher low now. So now it's just a matter of sitting tight and don't try and guess this market while it's in the middle of a consolidation zone. We either wait for price to come out, try and take out this previous low, see if it fails, which means that it's making an equal higher low, which means that we can take a trade back up, or what we can do is wait to see if it fails to break this previous higher high, which means that it can't make a new high, which means it may be coming to an end here, which means then we can actually potentially look at taking a short trade down back into that daily resistance level where I was. Let me just color that in quickly. That daily support level, which I explained a couple of weeks ago, that I think we can come back down and test. So at the moment, there's a trade set up possibly there, but it's just staying away from this at the moment. Again, if we go in line with the other Euro pairs that I just mentioned, what we can see is to come back down. If we do see that Euro weakness at the start of the week, to come back down, test the lower end of this support region, of this consolidation zone, test the equal higher low, and then from there see that push back up if we get that Euro strength along the other pairs. GBP USD. So GBP, if we just take a step back on GBP USD, there's something I actually want to quickly just go over on GBP USD. Let me just clear this chart off. Something that I was speaking about a couple of weeks ago, and just something I want to just explain to you guys. Now, you have to remember, we're retail traders, and we're trading just sort of catching on to the coattails of the big boys. We're minuscule, we're nothing, we're a drop in the ocean compared to what the market is really doing, compared to the banks, compared to hedge funds, compared to institutions, compared to anything. As I said, we're literally just a grain of sand on a beach, or a drop in the ocean, literally nothing. So what our trades do and affect the market, that there is no effect. We're literally just watching price, and as I said, we're catching on to the coattails of the big boys a lot of the time. Now, do you remember when I said about Euro USD and how it's time to be greedy when others are fearful? Now, if you have a look here, I just want to quickly just put this on a clear chart. If you remember, I mentioned back in August, was it back here? Yeah, August, when I was buying GBP USD, and everyone was, I had messages people saying I was mad, because when it was getting back to the lows, or to the sorry guys, when it was getting to the previous lows and all-time lows, sort of over here at 1.20, rationality goes out of people's heads and they can't think. I was saying the same at this time, but it was happening so fast that it was hard to get a hold of the trade at the time. But now, remember when I was saying that in a couple of months or in a couple of weeks, you're going to look back and say that it was so obvious. Hopefully you guys remember me saying that you're going to look back and say, now it makes sense. Now it's so obvious. But at the time, it seemed like it was crazy. Now, remember I was saying be fearful, it was time to look for buying opportunities, but with the way the market was moving so fast, so erratic, and it's so high risk, that it makes it hard for us. It makes it hard for us smaller guys. If I just go to this monthly chart here, these are the all-time lows. Now, when this came down that week and went back down to 1.500, where it's never been before, everybody probably thought the pound was absolutely, excuse my French, fucked, and nobody wanted to touch it. Nobody would wanted to buy it. Now, as I said, literally the end of the month and the first couple of weeks later, now look at what's happened. Is the price has been driven down. Everybody that was holding a long position has been squeezed out. Banks, hedge funds, everyone's bought this pair in at bought the pound at the cheapest levels, and now it's pulled back up. And there's a good potential, like I mentioned on my Sniper Sundays a few weeks ago, where I gave short, medium, long-term outlook on all the pairs. This could now take off to the upside. That's my longer-term outlook. If I just go down to the weekly, now we've got to try and see what the medium and short-term is. Now we can see here, tweezer bottom, bullish engulfing on the previous week, and now we look very, very bullish compared to when it looked like the pound was going to fall off the face of the earth. Nobody wanted to touch it. The fear was in the market, and but see how quickly it changes, guys. You have to foresee these things and understand that the banks are trying to get in at a cheaper price and buy in at bulk, and that's why these round significant levels like this come into play. 1.1500. Do you imagine how many orders there were in setting at that level to buy at that level, and then it pushed back up? Now we look very, very bullish all of a sudden, whereas a couple of weeks ago, people didn't want to touch the pound. So now what I'm getting to is that pound is very, very bullish right now. It does need a pullback before it can go higher. We've had a very, very bullish run. I think we were actually looking at taking a trade on this. But again, with at the height of the coronavirus situation, absolutely every trade we're looking at trying to take was not given opportunities. Once it made a move, it was just bullish, 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 big spike back down in order to have the retracement, just not giving us a chance to get in, and just bullish, bullish, bullish. Then we've got to a point where we just sort of moved sideways for a while. But we have to understand the momentum coming into here was very, very bullish. Now, I can easily see this previous high being taken out first. We've made a higher high, made a higher low, came back down, made a higher low here, and it's struggling to make it a higher high. But at the moment on the daily chart, we do look very, very bullish. and I see price coming up and taking out this high first, coming up a little bit higher, and then we're going to see the right retracement back down. We will just have a look on this from top to bottom. We are just tapping along that. We haven't even tapped the 61.8%. You can see how it sits just above the 1.2500 monthly resistance. I see us coming up, popping into that, somewhere in between that and the 78% retracement level. Then we're going to have the bigger retracement down that we're looking for. Right now, we're too bullish to even look back for a proper retracement on this bullish run. So I do see this pulling back up into this sort of region, coming up, maybe tap the 1.2600 sort of levels, and then we're going to see a retracement down, and then you can see potential future targets. If we do find that we could pull back, you can see these Fibonacci extensions lining up with 1.300, and I think I mentioned 2-3 weeks ago that we'd be looking at taking out these highs. Again, bold calls. We'll go back to those in a couple of weeks. People probably thought I was insane when I was saying that 2 weeks ago. Go back and look at that Sniper Sundays and now look at where price is now. You have to foresee these things and think about, try and think a couple of weeks ahead. That's why the short, medium and long term is important, and that's why I gave you that, so you can factor that into your own analysis, factor that into your trading, and when you're taking your own trades, you can understand how long you want to hold them for. So for instance, if you hear Sniper Sundays from me and I'm saying that I expect GBP USD to be able to take out these previous highs and go above 1.3500 within the next couple of months, then if you're taking a long trade of your own back through my analysis, for instance, down at whatever levels, say it down at these levels, when I explained that we're going to find, I also explained at the start of Sniper Sundays that we're going to see support here and push back up to the highs, then you can decide, okay, well, I'm going to take some profit, but I'm also going to hold a part of my trade. Possibly not in this area here because I am expecting that pullback down. But for instance, if you had taken a trade down lower, you can hold that trade for longer term because you know where the overall destination is. So you can take some profit and hold a swing trade long term. Let it come back against you. Maybe add another position when we get more positions in, but you know where the overall long term goal is. So it's very, very important to understand where the long term, medium, and short term. So it's very easy to say, okay, yeah, it's going to go up here, but then that's where you have to drop down to the lower time frames and think medium and short term, because as you can see with like the US dollar, the on the way of getting someplace, I explained this on my Sniper Sundays a few weeks ago. On the way of getting from A to B, it doesn't always go like that. It will go like this, then it goes back up, then it can come all the way back down again, then it can come back up. There's so many twists in the tail, which gets retail traders confused, don't know what way it's going, and then that's how all the losses occur. But if you understand the overall destination, then you know where you're going. Long term, then you drop down to the medium, and then you drop down to the short term. So medium and short term on here, I do see a little pop up higher. I'd be surprised if this holds, especially, yeah, I'd be surprised. So many short orders will be in here. So many people will be taking short trades here. So many retail traders will be coming in here to take a short trade. I don't see this not getting taken out before making a move lower, coming up and taking out this liquidity. Every man and his dog's probably trying to sell this at the moment. We may even, what will happen is get a slight little push down lower to bring in a little bit more, but I do see this being taken out first before coming down and pushing back down to the downside, before we have the longer term push back up to take out these highs overall. So that's the medium term. So then short term, as I said, the way the market was on Friday, you don't want to be getting involved in market where it's moving 5-10 pips. We knew from Monday morning it was going to be quiet, so we didn't want to get involved. And you can see here, it's literally been moving 10, 20, 30 pips. So short term, we have to see. It could pull back slightly, as I said before, pushing up higher. We will be monitoring that situation. At the moment, we are just making higher highs, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs. We are due a higher low. As you can see, this is a higher high. We are due a higher low before pushing back up to the upside. But we just have to watch out for that and see how the market opens on Monday. But I'm expecting to pop back up higher. Could be a little push back down. But yeah, definitely I think the better trade would be to wait for this to pop up into this level, then take a proper trade back down, short trade back down, when the momentum can build up and push back down on our side, and we can hold that down rather than just pushing down for a short trade, a small trade here that can push back up at any time. Then we come up here, we'll take out these highs, then we could see a quick turnaround and build that momentum back down to the downside. GBP JPY is similar as well. So GBP JPY, I mentioned on Sniper Sundays last week to look for a push from this level back up to the upside. So as soon as the market opened, price pushed up, and we continued to push up higher, basically till the end of the week, from 13,250 to 13,500. Very choppy on the way there, as I said, from A to B. Doesn't just always go in a straight line. It never does in the market. It's never simple. Went high, low, high, low, high, and trended quite nicely, but nevertheless was given mixed signals, especially when we had a double top over here and we made a triple top. Then we took out that high, but we kept making higher lows on the way up, and we've now taken out this higher high over here on a bigger time scale on the 4 hour, and we've made a new higher high. However, we can see here we just dropped down to the 1 hour to look at what the short term view is on this market. You can see here higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. Sorry, high high, higher low, higher high, higher low, and that's why I marked this out here. So you can easily just tap into here and push back up once again to really squeeze out any early short traders and then come back down to the downside. So that's what I'm going to be watching out for. GBP AUD, I see this pushing down a little bit more because I do expect Aussie dollar to continue the push up. Remember, very, very similar to Euro AUD. I'm expecting the Aussie dollar to continue the strength it had last week. Remember what I've also told you guys as well about what happens at the end of the previous week normally follows through to the start of the next week. So then what happens on a Thursday, Friday can often roll into Monday, Tuesday. And this is something else that I'm speaking about on the sessions webinar, because it's a known fact that the best days to trade the week are Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are really the best days. Friday can be a bit tricky. Monday, after a weekend, you don't really want to touch it, and most traders don't touch the market on a Monday. Friday, usually towards the end of the day, it tails off slightly, but you still normally get like a change in the market, a change in the direction by about Wednesday. So then what happens in the market is if we have a change of direction Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then you have the Monday, and then things settle where people don't really trade, get out of positions and so on Tuesday, then on the Wednesday we can be looking for things to change. So on Aussie dollar, I'm expecting that to continue the push from last week, unless we have something that changes the course of direction from the news over the weekend. I'm expecting the Aussie dollar to extend that push down lower. This support over here to me is looking very, very, very weak. These two sort of wick candles here, these are going to get taken out, I believe, and we're going to come back down to 1.9500. We're going to come back down to this outer trend line. I know there was an inner trend line here, but this is where people who are too eager to get involved can often get caught out. Just understand that this is very, very bearish move here. We have got this outer move. This is what I have seen medium term coming to this level, and then also medium term. But this move up even is medium term. I am expecting that move up, but then overall, just like Aussie dollar, US dollar, long term, I'm expecting bang to come down. But yeah, so I'm expecting to come out and test this. Short term, can we see a little pullback here? Possibly. Maybe retest this level before we come out and test this outer trend line, or the outer trend line here. Sorry, it's getting a bit complicated on the 4 hour chart. Let me just clear this up. We could have a little bit of a pullback at the start of the week, but what I'm expecting is, when I say start of the week, I mean at the market open. But I'm expecting to come out, take out these suspect sort of support levels here, and come out and test these levels here. Come out and test the outer trend line. Then we'll have confluences for a long trade back up. Obviously, with the Aussie dollar weakness will be one confluence. If we go to the daily, we'll have the outer trend line, which would be 0.12345. So if it can hold, that means it's going to be a very, very strong trend line. If it can hold here, the more times it touches, the stronger it is. So if we can hold it, and then we've got the weekly support of 1.9500. So that can make a really, really nice trade back up to the upside. Take out these lows, where again, there'll be lots of support, lots of long trades and stop losses sitting below this level. Come out, take those out, and then bang, we move back up to the upside. USD JPY, this more or less on Thursday evening, sort of rejected off that support level that I mapped out. Said that we could be looking at a long trade from the sort of 108.20 to 108.100 level, but obviously Thursday evening going into Friday, nothing's happened. So I'm going to be watching this again coming into the start of the week. See if this area of support can hold. But again, being a US dollar pair, it's not being the easiest to read at the moment. If we just look at this on the daily, big bullish run up, bearish push down, then a bullish run, which we did call because we're looking this to roll over to the downside, but then bears have come back in. But what I'm expecting is, as I said, US dollar to perhaps gain some strength at the start of the week, might dip into this level, which could give us a long opportunity, run up into this area 1.110, then we could see a sell-off. That's a potential trade setup for that pair. USD CAD, just go out to the daily, kept this super clean to keep it nice and simple. What we can see here is USD CAD, I'll be calling shorts on this from all the way up here, but again, coronavirus situation not giving us an opportunity. When 15-minute candlesticks were moving 200 pips consecutively, not just on as a one-off, but one 15-minute candle would be reversed by the next 15-minute candle. Let's just have a look back at that crazy time when we had the coronavirus. So this was a 15-minute candle. The 15-minute chart it is 60 pips in one candle. Let's see what else we had. Yeah, so we had this bearish push down over about an hour, which was 167 pips, and then we had in a 15-minute candle 126 pips. That's what the market was doing. So was the entries. It was not giving you opportunities for entries. You try and take an entry with a stop loss of like 20 pips, something like that would happen. Bang, you hit your stop loss and then go the other way. But anyway, get back to where we were. What we're looking at here is, I was calling this, as I said, bearish. I still see more downside on USD CAD, but medium term, short term, another push down. Take out this low. Again, there'll be so many. Let me just get the right one I'm looking for here. Where's it gone? There we go. There'll be so many longs from here. Stop losses below this level. Expect this little move to finish off on the 4-hour. Support, support, support. What do people do when they see support like that? Let me just move this one away. What will people be doing? They'll be looking to take longs off here. Support, support, support. What I do believe is we'll break through, finish off this Fibonacci move on a 4-hour. As you can see, we've had that 38% retracement. Come down, take out this low, and once we take out that low and come into this region down here, then we're going to see that medium term trend back up that we're going to be looking to take, and then the long term short back down. Aussie dollar CAD, so we're looking for that to gain some strength, and this just makes sense as well with what I'm going to tell you with Aussie dollar CAD as well, Aussie dollar US dollar, because we know they have the inverse correlation. So expecting short term weakness, and then a medium term nice swing trade up, and then a long trade down. So on the flip side of that, what would we expect? They would just clear off Aussie dollar US dollar completely. So we're expecting USD CAD to do that. If we just flip that on Aussie dollar US dollar, what are we going to expect? Short-term bullishness. Remember, short-term bearishness. Short-term bullishness on Aussie dollar US dollar. Medium-term pull back down that we want to take that short. And then, just like here. And then long-term long all the way back up. Now also, the Aussie dollar push up here If we're expecting that short term and USD CAD push down here, then what do we expect on GBP AUD? To push down because of the Aussie dollar strength to continue. Euro AUD, what do we expect? To push down. Euro NZD to push down. So that's what we're expecting for these to finish off that move, and then we take that trade. So yeah, we're coming up into this region here now. Let me just clear this off again. Aussie dollar, US dollar, big push up, back up into this sort of 61 to 78% retracement level. This is very, very interesting. As you can see, there's a level of support coming through here, and at 78.6 retracement level. So I'll be watching out for that coming into that region there, and that's where I believe that this can finish off its move and potentially see, and then we can see that short trade back down. A nice swing trade, 2, 3, 4, 500 pips swing trade down, 5, 8, 5, 6, maybe even more, like 5, 6, 700 pips possibly. We finish off this move here. A, B, C retracement. D coming up into that level. You can see that D second extension lines up perfectly with this previous resistance over here. Support turn of resistance. So we're aiming for price to come up into this sort of zone where we'll be watching very closely to look at this trade back down. Now, just look at this on the 4 hour. Again, if I just clear this all off completely, just looking at price action, we made a significant area of support here. Then where's the next level? We drive up to here. Then we pull back down. We know we didn't really make a great retracement there. We were expecting it to come down low. We were trying to take that short to take this swing trade down, but with these spikes like this, we didn't give us the opportunity. If you remember, that came out of nowhere. But now, what are we doing? We're coming up and making a higher high. So now we know that this has to come to an end up here, just to keep the trend going. And we're looking for this to come back down. But I do believe that we'll come back down, take out this low and make a real low on a daily, a higher low, and then we'll make a move back up. Aussie dollar CAD, very, very similar situation. We'll just go to the daily on this. You can see here we've got a nice area of support coming through here. 0.8900 coming into that level there. Support, 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 support. 0.8900. Why did I choose that? Round significant level, psychological level. So coming up into that area there. Again, we're making on a daily higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher high. For higher highs made, what has to happen next? We have to make a higher low. So it's starting to come towards an end on the 4 hour and the daily. I think we can push up into this region. You can see here we're trending up now. We broke out of this trend, found support, pushed up. Now our first target would be this trend line, break through that, this next support, and then we'll come back down into those regions where we're going to be looking for a reversal back up. So again, short term, I think we can maybe potentially extend this push up very, very slightly up into these regions. Then we're going to be looking for that short trade back down. Aussie dollar CAD, depends on what the Canadian dollar news and oil news is going to happen over the weekend, and then we're going to be looking for that trade back up. NZD USD, another pair very, very similar. Let me just change that style to solid line. Similar situation, higher high, higher low. Playing around here is 0.6100. Not going to jump into early shorts where most retail traders will, simply because it hits a weekly resistance level. Expect this to push up a little bit higher, break through this, play around, manipulate around this level first at the start of the week, Monday, Tuesday, potentially push up into this region, and then we're going to look for that trade back down. So we're going to be looking for a nice retracement down on these pairs as well. Remember, we've got Aussie dollar news this week as well on Wednesday or Thursday, I believe I said it was. So that's interesting. Oil, let's see what happens with oil. I haven't really touched oil this week because it's so volatile with the fundamentals as well. OPEC meetings, left, right, and center. We've got left shoulder, head. Can we come down and make a right shoulder and fly off to the upside? Let's see what happens on market open. We've got the oil cut. So obviously less oil, less of something means what? It means higher demand. So the cost should increase. But let's see what happens. Could we have a spike down to the downside first on market open, then a move back up higher? Who knows? We have to see what market does on market open. And in gold, close on Friday. Here we can see gold is just sort of run up into that resistance level. We had the move on Thursday. We know that we often see a move on gold on Fridays. But obviously the market closed on Friday for gold. So we had that move on Thursday, big move on Thursday before the long weekend, big bullish move. We'll have to see what happens. Will people have liquidated positions here? Will we see a pullback down on the market open? Interesting. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder. We will be ready and waiting to see. But again, be very, very careful with these trades at the start of the week. So yeah, what do we have? We've got the Aussie dollar news on Thursday. So that's going to be important for us this week because we're heavily looking at Aussie dollar trades. So again, that's sort of just re-gone over what we were looking at on Thursday. Broke it down a little bit more detail on each pair. Hopefully also learned some more from what I've explained and understanding the correlation and how everything is linked. There's a reason we look at so many pairs. There's a reason that we look at Euro AUD, Euro NZD, AUD USD, NZD USD, because everything is linked. And by understanding that Aussie dollar can, like if you're looking at Euro AUD and you're thinking about taking a long trade, but you're not looking at other Aussie dollar pairs to understand that there is more room to the upside, then you could take a long trade on Euro AUD and then get obliterated with your long because you're not understanding that Aussie dollar, US dollar can still have more upside. Same as Euro GBP, where we're looking at GBP USD here, we can see here that yes, we are looking at a quadruple or a triple top here. We can see that price is starting to find resistance, but that's what everybody sees. That's what 95% of the market sees. 95% of the reason why 95% of the market loses, because yes, we might see it will move away from here, but this is more than likely going to come up and take out the previous resistance. Now again, just like what I just said, everything is correlated, everything is connected in the market, everything happens for a reason. So if we're going to see a push up here, or if we do see a push up and take out the previous highs before moving down lower, which is highly probable, then what we're going to see on Euro GBP is another pushback down to the downside with the pound strength. So we're going to take out, so we're bringing in retail traders, we're bringing in people, the market saying, come on, take a long, has a push up, brings in liquidity, people jumping in for an early buy, then it pushes back down. Pin bar is saying, come on, buy me, basically. Buy me, bring in liquidity, might make a little move back up to the upside, then bang, it's going to make a move to the downside and clear these out. And what we always want to be looking for is remember, 3 is the magic number. 0.1, 0.2, and a third rejection here will be really, really nice for a trade. Aussie dollar, if we look at this, we've had one drive here, 2 drive, a 3rd drive up into this region now. Could really see the bulls then wear thin, the bears step in and take these down. So we've got one. USD is probably the trickiest one. We've got Euro GBP 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 potential setups or more this week. So looking forward to this week, guys. Hope you've had a great weekend. Remember, I very much doubt that there's going to be movement in the market. I'm going to be doing the morning call as always. I'm always monitoring the charts, so to keep on top of it for you guys. I will monitor in the morning, but I very much doubt that there's going to be much happening tomorrow. So, just like I said on Friday, understand that don't go forcing trades. Don't get bored. Don't try and take a trade. Don't try and get 5 or 10 pips. Don't over leverage. Don't try and scalp. Don't do something silly. Don't deviate from your trading plan. Close the laptop, turn off the computer, and have a day off. If something happens, I'll message you. But other than that, chill out and have a nice day off and enjoy the rest of the Easter. Unless if something's happening in the market, I'm going to let you guys know. But I do expect it to be fairly quiet tomorrow. If Friday was quiet, Monday's going to follow suit because tomorrow is the main bank holiday. Have a great evening, guys. Hope you like Sniper Sundays. And I'll speak to you soon. I'll update if we have any big moves on the market open. Remember, we're going to be watching oil on the market open after the OPEC meeting. See what else happens in the market. If nothing else happens, then I'll update on the morning call. See if anything does happen during the Asian session and see if there's any movement in the market. And that'll kind of tell us whether we're going to have a quiet day or not. Have a great one, guys. Speak to you soon.